Before we start, please subscribe and like the video. You ever feel your skin turn ice while the room keeps laughing? It was the annual company talent show, meant to be harmless. Paper crowns, bad guitar covers, that guy from Legal doing impressions. I wasn't even supposed to be there past my 5 o'clock shift, but Rachel insisted. Said it'd be cute if we went as a couple. She didn't tell me she was performing. When she took the mic, I was sipping ginger ale from a plastic cup, half listening. And then, right into the mic, she said, being married to Mason is like being subscribed to a fitness app, great on paper, but mostly a solo sport. Silence. Then laughter. Explosive, drawn out, cruel. I didn't move. Not right away. I just stared at her on stage. My wife of 6 years, in a blouse I bought her for Christmas, grinning like she'd won a bet. Our eyes locked. She winked. I stood up. Mason, she called, mic still hot. I didn't answer. I walked out. The corridor outside was lined with posters and coat racks. I kept walking until I heard her heels behind me. Click, click. Fast. Mason, wait. Don't be like this. I spun. Don't be like what? Publicly emasculated in front of our entire company? It was a joke. No, Rachel. Why did the chicken cross the road? Is a joke. This was a dagger wrapped in punchline. Her arms crossed. You're seriously overreacting. Overreacting. I laughed, sharp and loud. You just turned our bedroom into company-wide gossip. You don't think Scott from accounting's gonna nudge me every Monday now? Hey buddy, still training solo. She looked away. That was pre-written, I said. Wasn't it? Silence. You practiced that line. Her mouth opened, then shut. Guilt flickered. Just enough. Wow, I whispered. You didn't slip up. You planned this. I was trying to be funny, Mason. People were falling asleep. So you used me. She stepped forward, voice lowering. You're always so uptight, so stiff. I thought, maybe, for once, you'd laugh at yourself. I stared at her, jaw clenched. You thought I'd laugh at you telling 50 people that I'm a failure as a husband? No. I thought you'd laugh because you know I don't mean it, do I? I cut her off. Do I know that? Because lately, Rachel, I don't know a damn thing when it comes to you. Her voice rose, defensive. Oh please. You barely look at me anymore. You come home, you eat, you watch TV. Maybe if you actually touched me once in a while. I stepped back, stunned. So this is payback. She looked like she'd gone too far. Her mouth trembled. I didn't mean, no. No, I get it now. She reached out. Mason, I shook my head. You really wanted me to break tonight. You wanted to watch it happen. People were filing out now, eyes darting. I turned before she could say anything else. And I swear I heard it. One guy whispering behind me. Man, I'd sleep on the couch tonight if I were him. I didn't stop walking. I didn't say another word. But inside, something cracked, and it wasn't the kind that heals. I didn't say a word during the drive home. I took the long way, letting the lights of the city blur past while the echo of her voice, a solo sport, looped like a bad song. I parked in the garage beneath our building, stared at the ceiling for a full minute, then took the elevator up to the 27th floor. She was already home. Rachel sat cross-legged on the couch, wine glass in hand, her heels abandoned at the door. She looked up as I entered and offered the kind of smile you save for waiters and distant relatives. Hey, she said too casually. You left fast. I didn't sit, just dropped my keys in the dish by the counter and stared at her. She tried again. It wasn't that bad, Mason. It was humiliating. Her smile faded, but she didn't look sorry. Not even close. People laughed. Because you handed them a cheap shot. At me. She exhaled, setting her glass down. Okay, you're clearly upset. No, I said, pacing slowly across the room. Upset was 10 minutes after you said it. Now I'm somewhere between insulted and just plain disgusted. Come on, she scoffed, standing now. You're being dramatic. I'm being real, Rachel. Something you haven't been for a while. That made her pause. Her voice dropped an octave. What's that supposed to mean? I gestured around the apartment. Our apartment, cold with silence and dim with tension. I've been trying to pretend like everything's fine. Like we're just going through a rough patch. But tonight you didn't just step over the line. You sprinted past it. She folded her arms. I see now. You know what your problem is? You can't take a joke. You've always been so precious about what people think. I let out a bitter laugh. says the woman who rehearsed a roast to look cool in front of marketing interns. She rolled her eyes. I didn't rehearse anything. Don't lie to me. Her jaw tightened. Fine. Maybe I ran it by someone. It's called preparing. Who? I asked instantly. Who did you run it by? She hesitated. No one. Just people from work. Who, Rachel? I stepped closer now. Was it Steve? You spend a lot of time giggling in conference rooms with Steve. She raised a brow. Oh my God. Are we seriously going there? Maybe we should have gone there a long time ago. She grabbed her wine again, took a long sip, then pointed the glass at me. You've been sleepwalking through this marriage for a year. I make one joke and suddenly you're the victim? No, I snapped. You made one joke that told the whole room something you never had the courage to tell me directly. Her voice dropped. What are you accusing me of? I looked at her and felt the quiet click of something locking into place. I'm not accusing. I'm just finally seeing things clearly. She didn't like that. Not one bit. Oh, so now you're the martyr? Poor Mason, betrayed by his wicked wife who dared to have a sense of humor. You can twist this all you want, I said, but you knew exactly what you were doing. She said nothing. I moved to the bedroom without another word, shut the door, and leaned against it as the silence thickened behind me. Across the room, our wedding photo sat on the dresser. Us on the lake pier in Michigan, her head on my shoulder, my arms wrapped around her like I thought love was enough. I stared at it for a long time before turning the frame face down. The next morning, I didn't talk to her. She passed me my coffee like we were strangers at a diner. No apology, no acknowledgement of the previous night. Just a hollow here and a quick glance away. I took it, sipped, watched her pour almond milk into her cereal like it was just another Tuesday. Around 8, she left for work, kissed the air near my cheek, grabbed her laptop bag, and disappeared down the hall with her heels clicking like punctuation. I waited 10 minutes. Then I grabbed my keys. She'd left her lunch in the fridge, grilled chicken, arugula, balsamic on the side. The kind of thing she usually forgot and complained about by noon. Normally, I'd let it sit. But today, I wanted to do something kind. Maybe I needed to feel like the man I used to be. The one who still believed in fixing things. I packed it neatly, added her favorite ginger soda, and drove the 20 minutes to her office. She worked in a sleek, glass building just off Wacker Drive. I'd been there maybe twice. Once for a holiday mixer, once to drop off her forgotten laptop charger. Both times, she seemed almost embarrassed I'd shown up. I parked on the street, took the lunch bag from the passenger seat, and started walking toward the lot. That's when I saw it. Black SUV, tinted windows, but one was cracked open just enough for the sunlight to hit her hair. Rachel, in the passenger seat, laughing. And then, she kissed him. Not a peck, not a moment of weakness, no hesitation. A full, slow, familiar kiss. The kind you save for someone who already knows your body. The kind that doesn't flinch. I stopped walking. The lunch bag slipped from my hand, hit the pavement with a dull thud, but I barely noticed. She was leaning in now, eyes closed. He touched her cheek, and something inside me broke. Not loud, not violent, just a clean, cruel snap. My first instinct wasn't rage. It wasn't heartbreak either. It was clarity. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, long enough to memorize the curve of her smile, the way she tilted her head. I wondered if she laughed like that with me lately. If I'd stopped noticing. I turned around, walked back to my truck. No one saw me. No one stopped me. I got in, sat behind the wheel, and stared at my own reflection in the rearview mirror. This was the moment. Not the joke. Not the silence. This was when the marriage ended. And oddly, I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't punch the steering wheel or call her phone. I just sat there, heart hollow and hands steady, as the weight of truth settled into my chest. She had already left. Long before that kiss. I was just the last to know. There's a moment after you've been betrayed when everything slows down, like your body knows the world is too sharp and decides to pad your thoughts in wool. That's how it felt driving back to her office parking lot 20 minutes later. The lunch bag was still lying on the pavement where I dropped it. I didn't plan it. I wasn't thinking revenge. I wasn't even thinking at all. But as I opened the bed of my truck, my eyes landed on the tire iron resting next to the jumper cables. Long, cold, black steel. The same one I kept for emergencies. Apparently, this counted. I grabbed it. walked straight to the black SUV. Same one I'd seen her in earlier. I didn't even check if they were still inside. Didn't need to. I knew. The first swing was quiet. The shatter came half a second later. Rear passenger window exploding outward like a cannonball through glass. The sound echoed across the lot. Alarms? None. People? Staring. Inside the SUV, a figure jerked upright him. Her coworker. He fumbled, looking around. And then Rachel appeared, scrambling out the door like the building was on fire. "Mason," she screamed. "What the hell are you doing?" I didn't answer. I stood there holding the tire iron by my side, calm as morning. She ran toward me, heels clicking, blouse wrinkled. "Mason, stop. Are you insane?" I tilted my head. "You tell me. You can't just destroy someone's car." "Don't worry," I said. "I'll pay for the window. Consider it severance." "Mason, please." People were gathering now, phones out, whispers rising like smoke. But no one intervened. No one stepped in. For once, I didn't care what they saw. I looked her dead in the eyes. "You kissed him," I said plainly. Her mouth opened, then shut. Her hands trembled just slightly. "You knew I'd see." "It was," she stammered. "It didn't mean anything, I swear." "Rachel," I said, voice low but steady. "Don't insult me with that." Her face twisted, part panic, part shame. I didn't plan to." "Then you're even more careless than I thought." She took a step closer. "Please don't do this here." "You already did." Her coworker had gotten out of the SUV now, hovering behind her like a guilty ghost. "Mason," he started, hands raised. "Look, I didn't mean to." "Walk away," I said, not even looking at him. He hesitated, then backed off. "Smart man." Rachel turned back to me, eyes wet now. "You can't just end everything like this," she whispered. I finally let go of the tire iron, set it gently on the asphalt like it was glass. "I didn't end it," I said. "You did. I'm just giving it a name." Then I turned, walked past the onlookers, past her reaching hands, past the wreckage of something I once called my life. And for the first time in months, I felt calm. Not good, not victorious, but clear. And sometimes that's enough. The apartment greeted me with silence. Not the kind that says peace, but the kind that follows something you can't undo. I didn't bother turning on the lights. The dim amber from the hallway was enough to see what I needed. Our home looked exactly the same. The blanket she always left tossed over the arm of the couch. Her coffee mug still on the sink. The framed print she made me hang crooked, saying it gave the room character. Same apartment, different man walking through it. I went straight to the bedroom closet, pulled out the navy duffel I used back when we still took weekend trips. That version of us felt centuries away now. I packed slow. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, sneakers, a watch she gave me one anniversary, though I wasn't sure why I still cared enough to bring it. I didn't take much, just enough to get by. When I came back into the kitchen, I pulled off my wedding band, slid it between my fingers for a second, felt the cool metal press against my skin like it had for the last 6 years. Then I set it on the counter, not with drama, just set it there. It made the softest little click. That sound hurt more than I expected. I was zipping up the duffel when the front door flew open. Keys clattered against the tile. And then her voice, panicked. "Mason, wait, don't go." I didn't answer, didn't even look up. She crossed the space between us fast, grabbing my arm. "You can't just leave," she said. "We're not done." "I think we are." Her breath hitched. "It didn't mean anything. You know that, right? That kiss, it wasn't what it looked like." I raised my head slowly, looked at her face, eyes red, lip trembling, hair pulled back like she got ready for war and lost the battle halfway through. "You humiliated me," I said, "at work, in front of everyone. Then, while I was trying to do something kind for you, you were," my throat clenched. "You were already gone." "I wasn't," she insisted, voice rising. "I messed up, yes, but I was angry. You've been distant for months. I just wanted a reaction. Well, you got one." Her shoulders sagged. "You're really leaving?" "I packed a bag, Rachel. What do you think?" She started pacing, running her fingers through her hair, like movement might stop me. "Where are you even going?" "Kyle's. Just until I figure things out. You don't have to do this. But I want to." Her hands dropped to her sides, helpless. "I didn't cheat," she said. "Not really. It wasn't a full-blown affair. Stop. But if you'd just talk to me." I stepped closer. You told a room of co-workers that being intimate with me was a solo sport. Then you kissed another man. With feeling, Rachel. You did that. Not me. Tears spilled, finally. I thought we were past fighting, she whispered. I thought we were at the part where you forgive me and we fix it. You only started wanting to fix it, I said, when I finally stopped begging you to. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I lifted the duffel onto my shoulder, walked to the door. She didn't chase me. She just stood there. Mason, she tried one last time. Please. I opened the door. Take care of yourself, I said. Then I stepped out. And when the lock clicked behind me, it didn't sound like a door closing. It sounded like a chapter ending. Qley didn't ask questions when I showed up at his door with a duffel bag and tired eyes. Just stepped aside, handed me a beer, and pointed toward the guest room. That's the kind of friend he was. His condo sat high above the river, all exposed brick and industrial light fixtures. Nothing like the warm neutrals of the apartment I'd just walked out of. Rachel always said Kyle's place felt temporary. But that night, it felt like a harbor. I didn't cry. I didn't talk. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the city beyond the window. In the distance, a train clattered by like a heartbeat I hadn't noticed until now. That first morning alone hit hard. I stood in front of the mirror, toothbrush in hand, wondering when exactly I'd stopped recognizing myself. The circles under my eyes weren't from one bad night. They were from months, maybe years, of quiet erosion. I went to the gym. For the first time in months, I lifted until my arms shook. I pushed through the soreness, through the noise in my head, until all I could hear was my breath. That night, I slept for 7 hours straight. Dreamless, undisturbed. Rachel texted the next morning. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Can we talk? I read it and did nothing. Later that day, another one. I keep checking the door expecting you to come home. I can't eat. I can't sleep. Still, I said nothing. By day 3, she was calling. I let everyone ring out, my phone buzzing like a guilty conscience in my pocket. Qley noticed, of course. You gonna answer that? No. He gave me a long look, then passed me the poker chips. Fair enough. We played until midnight. It felt good. Normal, almost. Qley cracked a joke about Steve from HR and the horrible karaoke rendition of Sweet Caroline. And I laughed so hard I had to put my drink down. That laugh felt like breathing. On day 5, I bought a journal. The pages started empty. Then came the scribbles. Then full entries, memories, questions, names of songs I hadn't listened to since college. Not therapy, not poetry, just space. Rachel kept texting. I miss your laugh. Do you still think of me when it rains? Can we go back to how it was? The answer to all 3 was the same. No. Because what I'd realized in those silent days wasn't just that she betrayed me. It was that I'd been betraying myself, tolerating her distance, her dismissals, her smirks and half apologies, hoping it might one day return to what we once had. But people don't return. They shift, they drift, and sometimes they disappear altogether, long before they ever leave. Rachel was calling now. Every evening. 5, 6 times. I'd watch the name light up the screen, glowing like a warning. Once, I almost picked up. Almost. But I remembered that moment in the parking lot. The look on her face after the kiss. The way she ran out not with shame, but panic. Panic that I'd seen. Not that she'd done it. And that made all the difference. I wasn't playing her game anymore. I wasn't playing anything. I was building something. Quietly. Patiently. Without permission. And every unanswered text, that was a brick in the wall between who I used to be and who I was starting to become. I booked something for us, Rachel had written. It was the first message I didn't immediately delete. Couples therapy. Tomorrow at 3. Just once. You owe me that much. Owe her. That sat wrong. But curiosity won. Not hope. Just the desire to see what she'd say when someone else was listening. I arrived early. The office was tucked on the 4th floor of a repurposed brownstone. Exposed beams, neutral tones, a diffuser puffing lavender mist into the air like it could soften what would be said here. Rachel walked in right on time. Fresh blowout, subtle makeup. Like she was meeting someone important. Like image still mattered more than truth. She smiled at me, nervous, unsure, and sat with a careful gap between us. The therapist, Dr. Geller, introduced herself in that even tone that comes from years of listening to people unravel. She was maybe 50, kind-eyed, no nonsense. So, Dr. Geller said, why don't we start with why you're here today? Rachel jumped in. I made a mistake, she said quickly. A big one. And I want to make it right. I didn't look at her. Just watched the steam spiral from the mug in my hands. Dr. Geller nodded. Can you tell me what happened? Rachel hesitated, only for a second. There was an incident at work. A joke I told, it was taken out of context. I raised an eyebrow. Out of context? Dr. Geller glanced at me. Mason, she told a room full of coworkers that our marriage is a solo sport. I said it flat, without anger. Then she kissed another man in a parking lot. Dr. Geller turned back to Rachel. Is that accurate? Rachel's lips thinned. Yes, but it wasn't premeditated. I was angry. I was hurt. You were hurt. I repeated, finally looking at her. She flinched at my tone. Dr. Geller leaned in slightly. Rachel, when you made that joke, what did you hope would happen? Rachel forced a laugh. Honestly, I wanted people to laugh. I thought maybe he would laugh too. I tilted my head. You humiliated me because you wanted validation from strangers? I was nervous, she snapped. I blanked. And yeah, maybe I wanted to get a reaction. You got one. Silence settled again. Dr. Geller turned to me. Mason, how did that moment change things for you? I didn't hesitate. That moment was when I stopped being her husband. The room went still. Rachel stared at me like I'd slapped her. You can't just say that, but I can, I replied. Because it's true. Her voice cracked. So that's it. One joke and you're gone. I leaned forward, voice low and clear. It wasn't just a joke. It was you choosing the spotlight over my dignity. You didn't just hurt me. You enjoyed it. You watched me break and kept smiling. Dr. Geller didn't interrupt. She just watched. Rachel looked down, eyes welling. I didn't know it would cost this much. And yet, I said, standing up, you still made the bet. The session ended early. I walked out without waiting for her. Some things don't need a closing statement. They end when the truth finally speaks. The next few sessions blurred together like rainy windows, soft voices, stiff silences, and too many cups of tea no one finished. I showed up, mostly to see what she'd try next. Rachel played the part well, arriving early, complimenting Dr. Geller's office decor, wearing subtle gold jewelry like the version of her who still believed appearances mattered more than substance. But something changed in week 3. She came in late. No makeup, no jewelry, hair tied back hastily. And when she sat down, she didn't look at either of us. Dr. Geller noticed right away. Rough morning. Rachel gave a dry laugh. Rough month. Then she looked up. At me, not the therapist. I've been thinking, she said slowly, about what you said. That the joke ended us. I didn't respond. I don't think it did, she continued, voice getting tight. I think you ended it way before that. There it was. The shift. Blame, dressed up as vulnerability. Dr. Geller leaned forward. Say more about that. Rachel folded her hands. Mason checked out. Long before the joke. Before the kiss. Before everything. She turned to me fully. You stopped touching me. You stopped asking how I was doing. You'd come home and barely say 5 words. I felt invisible. I felt abandoned. I swallowed hard. You're right, I said. I did start to pull back. Her eyes widened, maybe not expecting agreement, but not out of nowhere. I pulled back because you kept turning our home into a stage. Because every time I tried to talk, you laughed it off or changed the subject or made me feel less. You wanted the punchline more than the partnership. Rachel looked away, but Dr. Geller wasn't done. Rachel, she said calmly, when you made that joke at the show, and when you later kissed someone else, do you believe those choices were justified by how distant Mason had become? Rachel shifted in her seat. I don't know. I didn't feel seen. And when someone else looked at me like I mattered, I got caught up in it. That's understandable, the therapist said. But understandable isn't the same as excusable. That landed hard. Rachel blinked. Excuse me. You said you didn't feel seen, Dr. Geller said gently. So you chose to make a public spectacle of your marriage and kiss a colleague. That wasn't about being seen. That was about control. Rachel's voice cracked. That's not fair. Fair, I echoed softly, was never in your vocabulary. Until now. Rachel stood up abruptly. I can't do this. Her chair screeched backward. Tears pooled, but pride burned hotter. Dr. Geller said nothing. Just watched her like a teacher watching a student give up halfway through the test. I didn't come here to be ganged up on, Rachel muttered. No, I said, standing too. You came here to be forgiven without doing the work. She grabbed her coat and stormed out, the door clicking shut behind her with a tremble. Dr. Geller looked at me. You okay? She asked. I nodded slowly. I'm not here for her anymore. She smiled gently. I can tell. Outside, the wind had picked up, but for once, it didn't feel cold. The house was quiet when the email came. I was alone, sitting on Kyle's balcony with the city flickering beneath me like a broken constellation. The air was warm enough to leave the door open. I hadn't checked my inbox all day, but something tugged. Subject, one last thing. Her name sat beside it like a ghost refusing to leave. I opened it. It wasn't short. I've been thinking about us, it began, and I keep wondering if maybe I took for granted how solid you always were. You never shouted, never blamed, and I mistook that for distance when really, it was strength. I paused, breathed. I don't know when we lost each other, she continued. I've been rewinding everything. Our fights, our silences, our last few dinners. I want to believe we could find our way back. Maybe we're not the same people we were, but maybe that's okay. The middle section veered. You have your flaws too, she wrote. You stopped engaging. You disappeared before I ever kissed anyone. I felt alone for so long, I forgot how to say it out loud. And then the pitch. I'm not asking for everything. Just one more conversation. One chance to look at each other without all the mess between us. If you ever loved me, just answer. She signed it simply. Rachel. I stared at the screen for a long time, the cursor blinking like a held breath. And then, without hesitation, I clicked reply. Rachel, let's finish what we started. That was it. 6 words. Clean. Uncompromising. Sharp in its simplicity. I didn't reread it. Didn't soften the tone or add punctuation fluff. I clicked send. And for the first time in weeks, I leaned back and exhaled like my lungs were finally mine again. It wasn't that I didn't care. It was that I finally understood what she was trying to do. This wasn't an apology. It was a reset button. A carefully written emotional lifeline cast out just in case I was still drowning. But I wasn't. Not anymore. She hadn't apologized for the joke, or the kiss, or the months she chipped away at my trust with sarcasm and deflection. She simply wanted it not to be over, even if the rot stayed. And I wasn't interested in almost healing. A few days later, the divorce documents arrived. She'd signed every page. No handwritten notes. No lipstick on the envelope. Just signatures and dates. Kyle poured me a bourbon that night, slid it across the counter like it was some kind of metal. To closure, he said, raising his glass. But I didn't drink. Instead, I stared at the glass for a second, then said quietly, not closure. Just the beginning without her. He nodded. Didn't say anything else. Some things don't need to be mourned forever. Some endings are quiet, but they still echo, like a room that suddenly feels bigger after someone walks out. And that space? That's where something new begins. Divorce court isn't dramatic. No gavel slams. No soaring monologues or courtroom gasps. Just a beige room. A tired judge, 2 lawyers, and paperwork. The only thing that felt final was the way Rachel looked when I walked in. She didn't wear black like I thought she might. She wore pale blue, the color she used to say made her eyes pop. Her hair was pulled back, no ring on her finger, no emotion on her face, until she saw me. Then, something flickered. Regret? Nostalgia? I couldn't tell. I didn't ask. We sat across from each other at a narrow table. My attorney passed me the last page to sign. Final dissolution, he said. Rachel's hand was already poised, but she paused before her pen touched paper. I left you something, she whispered, barely audible over the buzz of the cheap ceiling lights. I looked up. What? A voicemail. Last night. Her lawyer cleared his throat like he didn't want to be part of whatever this was. Rachel nodded at him, then signed her name. And that was that. When it was over, we stood. She didn't say goodbye. She just lingered for a second near the door, like she wanted to, then didn't. I didn't follow. Later, back at Kyle's, I sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, staring at the notification. One new voicemail. I hesitated. Then I hit play. Her voice crackled through the speaker, softer than I expected. Hey, I don't know if you'll ever hear this. I've rewritten it a few times. Look, the night of the talent show, it wasn't just about being funny. I was scared. She paused. I used humor because I couldn't say I was lonely. I couldn't admit that we were broken. And I thought if I laughed loud enough, maybe no one would notice the silence between us. Another pause. Breathing. But I didn't mean to kill us. I just didn't know how to save us. And by the time I figured it out, you were already gone. Click. End of message. I didn't replay it. I didn't need to. Because even in her most honest moment, she never asked for forgiveness. She only wanted understanding. And I wasn't in the business of giving that anymore. I opened my laptop, pulled up the video. Yes, someone had filmed it. The moment it all cracked. There she was on stage, mic in hand, grinning as the punchline left her lips. People laughed, slapped tables. I sat in the frame, stunned, still blinking. I watched it on mute, studied the way her eyes searched for mine after the laugh. Then I closed the window, deleted the file, and whispered, more to myself than to her, I would never forgive you, even if you just asked. Not because I was cruel, not because I wanted revenge, but because sometimes withholding forgiveness is the final act of self-respect. That day, I didn't toast, didn't celebrate. I just breathed, long, slow, deep. And the air didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt mine. 1 year. That's how long it's been. 12 months since the last signature. Since the voicemail. Since I left behind a life built on polite silence and punchlines that cut too deep. A lot can happen in a year, if you let it. I changed jobs. Left the old company 2 months after the papers were final. I didn't want to walk the same halls where people still whispered about that talent show. I wanted a clean page. Landed at a smaller firm downtown. Good people. No gossip. Just work that felt solid under my hands. I took up hiking. Kyle thinks it's hilarious. Me, the guy who used to fake allergies to avoid yard work, now waking up at dawn to climb through misty ridgelines with a thermos and silence. I got my own place. Nothing big, just 2 bedrooms and a view of the lake on clear days. I painted one wall dark green. Bought books I never read before. Learned how to cook something other than scrambled eggs. And then, there's her. Nora. We met at a secondhand bookstore. I dropped a novel. She picked it up and told me the ending sucked. I said I hadn't read it yet. She laughed, offered a spoiler warning too late. We had coffee that day, and again the next. She's not flashy. She doesn't throw big parties or tell stories to make herself the center of attention. But when she talks, she listens too. And when I speak, she waits. Doesn't interrupt, doesn't roll her eyes, just listens. Tonight, we walk into my new company's fall mixer together. Nothing big, just drinks and appetizers and a few thank you speeches. She wears a deep rust-colored dress. No sequins, no spectacle, just quiet confidence. I keep my hand on the small of her back as we make our way through the crowd. Someone clinks a glass. A guy with a clipboard and bad posture takes the stage and tries to warm the room with jokes. He says something about married life, something self-deprecating and harmless. There's laughter. I glance at Nora. She smiles. Not nervously. Not for anyone else. Just for me. And something in my chest clicks back into place. I hear the joke. I hear the room respond. I hear myself laugh. Not loudly. Not to prove anything. Just naturally. And for the first time in a long time, it doesn't sting. I'm not waiting to be the punchline anymore. Nora squeezes my hand. You okay? She asks. I nod. Yeah, actually. Across the room, someone tells another story. Someone else laughs too loud. The lights flicker a little, and someone complains about the catering. It's just a normal night. No drama. No exits. No betrayal hidden behind a microphone. Just a man standing in a room that isn't haunted anymore. A man who finally stopped waiting for closure and built something better. Peace.